Welcome to this video where I'll be talking about or giving you a short introduction to SPSS, which is the statistical software we're going to use in quantitative methods. And so I'm going to explain really how this program works. And I'm going to give you a short introduction to the first part of the work requirement. So I'm going to show you how you can go about doing the work requirement. Okay, so this is SPSS. This is what SPSS looks like when you open a sub file, which is a data file in SPSS. I have youth data on my computer now, and the first window you see is, and I use Mac, but you have the same, kind of. It looks almost the same when you use a PC, but things may be positioned a bit differently. But anyway, you have the variable view, which is the window I'm in, and in this window I see all the different variables, and they go downwards like this. So in youth data you have exactly 169 different variables or questions. Okay, so you have all these questions or variables going down, but you also have something called the data view, and this is all your data. And downwards you don't have the variables now, but you have each respondent. So if we go all the way down in youth data, we'll find that we have exactly how many? Oh, let's see. We have many. We have, in fact, we have so many thousand. We have 11,353 respondents, and we have the variables in the top. So these are the values for each respondent on each different type of for each of these 169 variables. But as I said, we'll be working in the variable view. This is the window where you will be working mostly. And it's important to kind of know what information you should look for in the variable view window, because there are really just three types of information that is important in this variable view window. It's the information you get under name, and that's what in the variable overview I call this short name, because it's the short name on each variable. When you get to know the data quite well, you will only work with the short name, because it's easier to find the short name and just write in the short name. So the name column is important. Type is not important. Width is not important. Decimals are not important. So these three you don't have to worry about. But label is important, or what I call the long name, because this is really the question. So skole 1, what does this short name, what kind of information does this variable represent? Well, it represents the information on the question: do you agree or disagree with the following statement about your situation at school? I enjoy school. Okay, so that's skole 1, which it represents a question about whether they enjoy school or not. Okay, so and so the name is important, the label is important, because it's the long name. But then you have values, and values are also important, because I enjoy school. Yeah, what that doesn't tell really anything about the possible different answers given on this question. So if you go on values and you just left click on values, you get this little square here, and you can left click on that as well, and then you see value label. So then you know that 1 is totally agree, yeah, I really enjoy school. 2 somewhat agree, 3 somewhat disagree, and 4 is totally disagree. And when I tell you in the work requirement that at least 3 of your variables should be scaled variables, this is what I mean with a scaled variable. It goes from from something very much to something very little. I mean, it's at the ordinal level, or in this case, we could say that it's at the ordinal level, or it's almost at the interval level, because it's I mean, it's 4 scaled, so we can say that we can use this variable as is. We don't have to do anything about it. It's really further in the last part of the work requirement. I'm going to show you how you can recode variables that are not scale variables to use them in the regression analysis. But for now, it's you have to know that when you have, like, it's 4. It's answer with at least four different variable with the values, 4 different values, and they go from something more to something less, or something less to something more. Then it's a scale variable. That's the whole. That's essential. Yeah, essentially what I mean with a scale variable. So okay. And missing is not so important, columns are not so important, line is not so important, and measure. Well, you would think that measure is important, but SPSS will almost say that all variables are nominal level. So you cannot, this is not true. You have to, when you are going to evaluate what kind of level of measurement each variable has, you have to go into the values, and you have to see, okay, what kind of, what is the scale that has been used when they have provided the answers. And as you can see, this is not a nominal level variable, even though SPSS claim it is. It is a variable at the ordinal level. So it, or what we'll call, or when we use it in our regression analysis, for example, we'll say that it's strictly speaking at the ordinal level, but we'll use it as it was, as almost at the interval level, because it's quite fine scale variable, actually, 4 scale. It has 4 different values. Okay, so this is really SPSS basic. You will work with the short names, the labels or the long names, and then you will be looking at the values, because when you interpret when you're going to interpret the results, you have to know the values on each variable. And we'll be working mostly in the analyze function, and in the first part of our work requirement, we're going to be working with descriptive statistics, and then the frequency command and descriptives command mostly. And then we're going to be working somewhat with the crosstabs. We're also going to be working with compare means and the one sample t-test at the end of part 1. But for now, we're going to work with frequencies and descriptive statistics and crosstabs. So let's look at the work requirement. Well, you have some formal requirements. You can read this yourself. It's not so important. Yeah, you can read it. You're going to use the work requirement template, and the report should be 10 pages plus minus 10%, including figures and tables. And all reference should be in APA style, and you have to submit it in Canvas before 12 p.m. on the 1st of March. So we're going to work. We're working with this in class, but you are also supposed to be working with this at home. Yeah. The first thing, and part 1, the first thing you have to do is to choose a data set. You can either choose youth data, which is well, it's youths going to secondary school and high school. So it's about 11,000 Norwegian youth that we have to work with, or NORLAG, which is a data set consisting of people 40 plus who have been asked the same questions twice. So it has a longitudinal dimension, actually. The youth data does not have a longitudinal dimension because it's only youth or different youths been asked in 2014, 15, and 16. It's not the same people, but it's merged into a file. So it's even though it consists of different years, it's a cross-sectional data set consisting of youths, and it's representative of all Norwegian youths in that period of time. But in NORLAG, it's actually people have been asked at two different points in time, and it's in 2001, 2002, and 2007, 2008. So it's the two surveys run over the course of 2 years. It's a bit more. The data structure is a bit more tricky, but you have more possibilities in Nordlag. So I would definitely, for those who want to do something more advanced, you should choose Nordlag. For those who want something not so advanced and more straightforward, you should choose youth data, or you should choose what you think is the most interesting to you. The questionnaire, that's just for youth data, and the variable overview and the data sets can be found in Canvas. I would look at the variable view overview if I was you, because the questionnaire for youth data, well, some of the questions you find in the questionnaire is not actually in the data set, but all the variables in the variable overview where I have defined different themes are in the data set. Choose the data set that includes topics and questions you are interested in and want to investigate. And then you're going to select six questions, variables in youth data or Nordlag that you want to study more closely. And note that at least 3 of the questions you choose should be scaled variables, implying that the answers are given on a 4-folded scale at the minimum. And as I showed you, a 4-folded scale are all these questions that have, this is 4-scaled. Totally agree, totally disagree. Or, for example, 1 very true, 4 not true at all. So it's those kind of questions, which is where the answers have been provided on the scale. Okay. And then the first part is to find a title for your report, and remember to write your name on the front page, see the work template. Format the research question for your study. Note that the depend variable in your study must be one of the scale variables in youth data Nordlag. And then write a short introduction where you introduce the subject you want to study, and you can use previous research or your own experiences as inspiration. So it's just really finding some inspiration that you want to use. And then you should report the average, median, and mode for the 6 variables you have selected, and interpret the most relevant measure for central tendency for each of the 6 variables. And when making the argument for which of the measures for central tendency that is the most relevant, you should refer to the level of measurement for each variable. The goal is to use as much as possible of the information each variable has to offer. And this is the command for how you go about doing that in SPSS. Well, let me show you my example. I've started at the work requirement. So I've deleted the template text, and it just says work requirement in SIW4210, quantitative methods and research design, and I put in my name, and then I put in a title. And what I'm going to be studying is the association between the status you get from smoking cannabis and gender, age, relationship with parents, and the feeling of not fitting into school. So I'm really into whether gender, age, the relationship you have with your parents, and the feeling of not fitting into school has anything to is associated with the status you get from smoking cannabis. So what my research question is what is the significance of gender, age, relationship with parents, and the feeling of fitting into school? That should be not fitting into school. Not fitting into school. Let me put in not fitting into school for the perception of the status you get from smoking cannabis among Norwegian youth. So, okay. Does gender, age, the relationship with parents, and the feeling of not fitting into school have anything to say for the perception of the status you get from smoking cannabis among Norwegian youth? So, and then I would put in some text and say why is this important? Why do I think there is why do I think these variables are significant, and so on and so on. I could base it on previous research, or I could just use my gut feeling, which is also just as interesting for exploring different research questions. I mean, a lot of research questions is based on the fact that we have this feeling that something is important for something, and we want to study it. And then you start out by putting in different measures of central tendency, and I've put in the variables name here, names. So the 6 variables I have chosen. I've chosen status cannabis, which status you get from smoking cannabis, and then enjoy school. That's my first variable for where I measure whether they feel that they are fitting into school or not. And there's a question about fits among the other students. And then you have age, which you have to in youth data you have to measure by class. You don't have a question about their age, but you have a question about which class they attend, and classes, and that's so I will use that as a proxy for age. It works, yeah. And then you have gender and the relationship with parents. I will use a question where they have asked whether they discuss or fight a lot with their parents as a measure for their relationship with their parents. Okay, so let me start with this first part of the work requirement. I want to find the central tendency for these 6 variables, and I have to interpret the most relevant measure. So in SPSS, I choose analyze, descriptive statistics, frequencies. I put depend variable over in variables. I choose statistics, and then I go to central tendency, and I tick off for mean, median, mode, and then I say okay, continue, and I paste or say okay. So let's do that. Okay. So what should I do? Well, I should go to analyze. I should go to descriptive statistics. And I was supposed to choose frequencies, and I do that. And now you can see that it's in this window, you have all the labels. But I don't want to, as I said, I don't want to work with the labels because they are so long, they're kind of hard to find my variables. And I left click. I right click. I have my brochure in this window. I right click, and then I get this this menu, and I can choose display variable names. So I do that, and since I've chosen 6 variables, I've in a book here, which you cannot see, I've noted the short names. So I know that the variable with this for measuring status for smoking cannabis, the status you get from smoking cannabis, is called status 4. So I'm just going to press S on my keyboard to find status 4. Yeah, there you have it. There you go. And then I have the questions about fitting into school, and that's called whether they enjoy school. It's called skole 1. So I'll also put here again, and I find skole 1. Where is skole 1? There you go. And the next one is skole 4. I know that's whether they feel that they're fitting in among the other students. I say okay, put over skole 4. And then I want to use I want to measure for age, and as I said, we don't have a question about age in youth data, but we have klasse or class. So I get the classes they attend, and so I use that one. And then I want a gender, and that's called kjønn. That's the short name kjønn, so that's gender, and I put that over. And then there is the relationship they have with their parents is foreldre 7, and that's whether the parents yell to them, or they fight a lot with their parents or not. And then I was supposed to choose statistics, and you have this menu here where you ask for different measures of central tendency, and I choose mean, median, and mode, and I say continue. And then now I could just say OK, but it's really nice just to select paste, because then you get the second window in SPSS, which is the so-called syntax window. And then first thing it says, this is really, it shows all the commands, it logs all the commands you have done. And I'm not so interested in the fact that this data set is active. It's not so important, so I just remove that. And now I have the frequencies. I say, okay, run a frequency for these variables, and you see the short names, and give me the following statistics. I want the mean, I want the median, I want the mode. And you can just mark this and then go for a run selection. I do that. And then you get the third window in SPSS, which is the output window. So you have a syntax window where you can put all your different what you have done. You can, and this is your logbook on what you have done of different analysis, and then you have your output window where you get all the output. So here you can see I have the different measures on central tendency, mean, median, and mode for my 6 variables, and this is my depend variable. I also have the frequency distribution down here, which can also be interesting to look at, because then you know, then you would know what kind of values that you have on each variable. And I know that on my depend variable goes from 1, increases your social status a lot, to 4, reduces your social status a lot. So when I'm going to interpret the mean here, I know that the mean is 4.23, so the mean is somewhere between reduce your social status a bit and reduce your social status a lot. And of course, so I can put in, okay, mean 423, median 5, and mode 5. Okay, then I have to go to my template, and I have to put in status cannabis. It's 4.23, and then it's median 5 and mode 5. Okay, and I have to remember to put that in black. So okay, so status cannabis, that's a scale variable, and I want to use the most of the information the variable has to provide. So I would say that, okay, mean, then I would use the mean, because it's a scale variable, and then mean provides me the most information. You could also say that, okay, mode is interesting, because that's really says how what is the most what has most kids answered, but mean uses the most of the information. Median is for these kind of variables that are not so, I mean, there are kind of, it's 4 different answers, or 5 different, or a scale of 4 or a scale of 5 at the most in youth data. The median is not so, it's really interesting. I mean, the median would be interesting if you have like income, which is a huge scale, for example, or yeah, maybe. So what you will notice is that for most of these measures you will interpret the mean, at least for the scale variables, but for and status cannabis is scaled, enjoy school is scaled, fit among other students is a scale variable, and age is a scale variable, but gender is not a scale variable, because of course if you go in and you look at kön, gender, are you boy or girl, it's 1 boys, 2 girls, it's not scaled. I mean, it's a nominal variable. It's just whether you're a boy or a girl. So there you would interpret the mode on sex, and you see that the mode is 1. So, and from looking at this, it's 1 is boys and 2 are girls. So there are more boys than girls, at least. And then you can go down here and see that yes, there are somewhat more boys than there are girls. There are not not that many more, 21 more boys than there are girls, but there are some more. The boy is the most frequent value on the on the variable gender. So yeah, so given that the fact that this is a nominal variable, mode is the most relevant measure for central tendency to interpret. Whereas for these other variables that are scaled, you would choose the mean, because the mean provides you the most information. Yes, and then you can also use this frequency tables to if you remember that it goes from 1 to 4, for example, you can say that, okay, do you agree or disagree on the following statement about your situation in school? 1 is totally agree, 4 is totally disagree. Okay, what is the mean? What is the mean? What is the mean? Well, the mean on whether you enjoy school or not is actually 1.42. So, and 1 is that you enjoy school a lot, or it's very true that you enjoy school a lot. Let me see. It's it's there, and yeah. So it's the mean is somewhere between somewhat agree and totally agree, actually. And you can see that from the numbers as well. I mean, you see that the 93% of all these kids, if you look at the cumulative percentage, have said that they totally agree or somewhat agree. So it's not very strange that the mean is somewhere between these two categories. Okay, fine. So now we have done this part. Now you're going to run a frequency distribution for the depend variable in your study and report the relative distribution as well as n, which is the total number of people have or youth that have answered. Comment on the distribution. So then you're going to choose in SPSS, analyze descriptive statistics, frequencies, depend variable, put that in variables, and paste OK. Okay, since I have this syntax, I could just copy it and then paste it, and I know that status 4 is my depend variable. I've been told that I don't need these measures, so I could just do like this and run that one. But I'm going to show you that you will get the exact same command in the syntax if I now choose the frequency the command using the click menu. So yeah, I choose descriptive statistics, I choose frequencies. I'm not going to have, oh sorry, was it where I'm supposed to use the frequencies, or is it yeah, we are going to use the frequencies. Okay, so then I can just say that, okay, I'm not going to have these ones anymore, I'm going to put them off, and I'm statistics, I'm not going to have the central tendency anymore. I was told I didn't need that. And then just paste that one, and you see I get exactly the same. So that was not necessary. I could just use this one and say run selection. So yeah, this is the distribution on smoking cannabis. So this is the total n. This is 10,804 are the ones who have responded to these questions. There are a bit of, or almost 4.8 that haven't provided a response, so they have missing values. But these 10,804 have responded. So I would put in my template. Now we are here on in table 1, 2. I would put in 10,000. What was it? 10,804. 10,804 I would put there. And I would since the depend variable, my depend variable has is 5-point scale. I have to it's not just 4. I would have to put in columns to the right. I would have to, and I would just do like this, and then I would put the value here, and I would put in the totally disagree, or I could put you can also, yeah, increase blah blah blah, increase blah blah blah. You can you just put yeah, the different values here on top, and then you say, then you put in the percentage. That's what you're going to put in here. You're going to put in the percentage. So increase a lot is 1.8, increase a bit is 3.0. So then you put in, sorry, then you put in 1.8, 3.0, and so on for the total on your depend variable. Okay, and then yeah, so that's what you're going to do in this part of the work requirement. But if you selected use data, and I also want you to look at the relative distribution and N for gender and school level respectively, and you do this by choosing in SPSS for gender, analyze, descriptive statistics, and then we're going to work with crosstabs, and you put the depend variable in the columns, and then kön, which is gender, in the rows, and then you choose cells and percentage, tick off row, continue, and paste OK. I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so now we are going to choose analyze, descriptive statistics, crosstabs, and I was going to put my, and I still want my short names, because this is really, I find this to be a bit hard to read. So I say, I right click and I say display variable names, and I say I want to have status 4 because that's my depend variable, status 4, and I'm going to put that in columns. And then the first was gender, which is kön, short name kön. I put that in rows. And then I was going to say cells. I was going to go to percentage and then tick off. What was I going to tick off? Oh, sorry. I was going to tick off row. Yeah, I was going to tick off row. There we go, back there. I was going to tick off row, and I do that. Continue. And I could just say OK, and I would immediately come to my output window, but I'm going to paste it because I want to keep a log of everything I do. So then I have the crosstabs, and then you get this one, and you can just mark it and then run it. And then you get a crosstab between whether you're boy or girl, and whether you think cannabis smoking cannabis increase your status among your friends. And so for boys, increase your status a lot, 2.7%, girls 1%, increase your status a bit, 3.1% among boys, 3% among girls. But if you look at reduce your social status a lot, it's 57.8% of the boys who have said that, whereas it's 60.8% of the girls. So we can actually, from looking at these numbers, we can see that there seems to be a difference between boys and girls as to whether they think whether you get they're disagreeing on how smoking cannabis affects your status in your group of friends, among your group of friends. Okay, so what should I do with these numbers? Well, you put these numbers into the work time. You put, for boys, you put it in here. It says sex, but it could, yeah, it's the same as gender. And for girls, you put it here, and then N, that's the total number who have answered. And the total number of boys who have answered is 5,229, and the total number of girls is 5,084. So then you put that in here and here. And then you have school level, secondary school, and high school. Of course, I could just now, when I have my syntax, I could go run through the menu again. But why should I do that? I have everything in my syntax, so it's much easier for me to just copy this one and then paste it, and then say, okay, I know that school level is the short name, so I just write school. Sorry, that was wrong. School underbar level by status 4. and then I can mark that and I can run it, and I get the same for school. So for those who are in secondary school, let's look at the reduce your status a lot, because that kind of, then we can eyeball whether there's a difference. In secondary school, there is 66.9% that says that says it reduce your social status a lot, but among high school it's 46.4%. So it's actually quite a huge difference. And you also see it for the ones increasing your status a lot. There's also quite a huge difference between those who says it doesn't make a difference. So it's 13.2%. The share is 13.2% higher among the high school students actually than among the secondary school. So there seems to be a difference between high school students and secondary school students as to whether smoking cannabis how that affects your status. And so, okay, where to put these numbers? Well, you put the same numbers in here: increase a lot, increase somewhat, and so on and so on. You change these values and you put it into black, of course, when you have done that. And then you put also in here, you put in the percentage. The numbers down here, and then the total for each. And total for each was 6,786 for secondary school, and for high school it was 4,018. Okay, so that was this part. For Nordlag, you do exactly the same, but you have then gender and whether the one who has been interviewed lives alone or not. And then 1.7 is to give an assessment on the concept validity of your dependent variable. And as it says, there is no right or wrong answer to that question. Many of you are interested in, for example, depression or other questions that you see, or what people do in their spare time and so on. And you have found out that there are many questions you want that you could potentially use. And I've told you that in the first and second part of the work requirement, just use one of those questions. And when we come to the third part of the research of the work requirement, I'll show you how you can sum or make a sum of all these questions and then so you get a mean for each respondent on the different questions that for example measures depression or what you do in your leisure time, whether you're social or not social. So you can make a depend variable consisting of several questions, more like an index. But so when you discuss this, please say that okay, this far I'm only using one question, and discuss whether the concept validity will increase when you add more questions. But but for now just use one question, because it will be too technical for you or for us to start with that now. It's better that we do this first part and then I can show you how to recode into a sum variable when we start with the regression. And that's something I also want to say to you all and really emphasize. Please do each step of the way and do it, and then when you struggle, watch my video how I do it, and then try again and again and do each step, because each of these steps builds on the other. That's the whole point of the work requirement, so you can really get it under your skin. And of course you are also supposed to work with this at home, and you can do that when you have access to SPSS. So yes. Oh, just drinking some cold coffee. Yeah, okay. Examine the distribution on the depend variable in terms of the normal distribution. That's 1.8. And give an assessment of the form of distribution. Cut and paste the histogram from SPSS. And how am I going to do that? Well, in SPSS, I choose Analyze, Frequencies, put my depend variable, over in my in variables, I choose charts, histogram, show normality curve on histogram, and continue, paste, OK. Okay, let's do that then. So I go here, I choose analyze, descriptive statistics, frequencies, and as you see, since I already have status for my dependent variable is there, so I don't have to choose it again. I can just let it be. I tick off for charge, or I choose charge, and I tick off for histogram, and I tick off for the show normality curve. Continue, and I'm daring, so I say paste. And what happens then? Well, I get it in my syntax, and if you compare this frequency with this frequency, you see that, well, you have gotten some more text here which say that, oh, give me histogram and a normality curve. That's nice. And I just mark that. I have to right click and then mark it, and then I say run selection, and I get this histogram. And then you can just click on it with a or you can you have to really, SPSS is going to be a bit stupid in that sense. You have to really click quite fast a few times, and then you get this you get these shades over it, and then you can right click and copy. Not before, you will not be able to do it before, but then you can right click and copy, and I can just take it down like this and like this, and then we can put it into our work requirements or into our template. And this is supposed to go here, and then I paste it, and then I can just make it a bit smaller like this, so I get it up there, for example, so I get it on one page. And okay, what we are going to distribution on, and then I would just put in status from smoking cannabis, for example. Well, we are going to evaluate this according to the normality curve, or whether it's right or left skewed. And what would you say this distribution is? Well, it's quite left skewed, in the sense that we are missing people on the left side of the histogram. It deviates quite a lot actually from the normality distribution. So it's a bit left skewed. It's quite left skewed. That's what I would comment on this distribution. It's left skewed. And then you are asked to put in some different measures for the dispersion in the dependent variable, standard deviation, range, max and mean, and as it says in the work requirement, you're going to measure different measures for the dispersion. Remember, it's easier to interpret the standard deviation if you relate the value of the standard deviation to the average. So we're going to do this in SPSS, but I will also tick off the average, so I get the average actually, because it's nice to have the average. So this is the way to do it. And then remember, we're going to do descriptives. We're going to say analyze descriptives, analyze and then descriptive statistics, and then choose descriptives. So I'm going to go here. I'm just going to, we have the output, and we have this one. I will go like here. Analyze descriptive statistics. There was analyze too much in my work requirement. I have to remove that, but now we choose descriptives, and then again I right click. I want to have the variable names, and I choose status 4 because that's my dependent variable, and then I choose options, and as you can see already, I have it's ticked off for the mean is already ticked off, but if it's not ticked off, tick it off. And dispersion, I choose standard deviation. I want range, I want minimum and maximum. Continue, and then I paste it like this, because then I get it in my syntax. So for those, I just want to say, okay, for those who wonder, it says it's going to be analyzed descriptive statistics and then descriptives. This analysis is wrong. Yeah. So don't mind this one. You go from descriptive statistics, descriptives, dependent variables, and so on, just as I've showed you now. And then I get it in my syntax window, and I mark it like this, and I say run selection. And then you get, okay, range, mean, max, and I mean range is maximum minus minimum, so it's 4. I mean, you can see everyone has, there are people who have answered 1 and a lot of people have answered 5, so this is that's the range, is 4. And then you have the mean, which is 4.23. And the standard deviation, well, it's 1.04, and I mean, I use as a rule of thumb, if the standard deviation is half the size of the mean, then things are a bit shady. Then you really have a large dispersion. But in here, it's just 1 is just a fourth of the mean, so there's not a huge dispersion in this sample on this question. So you put in this the standard deviation, you put in the name on your dependent variable, and then you put in the range, which is 4, max is 5, min is 1, and you comment on it. It's just a short comment, really. What does it mean? What does it imply? And then in your worker comment, you're going to find and interpret a 95% confidence interval around the average of the dependent variable in your study, and then you're going to interpret a 99% confidence interval around the average of the dependent variable in your study. And why is this interval larger than the previous one? Well, as I've explained before, or as we've been talking about before, we're working with a sample of units. And this is a sample of Norwegian youths, but we want to say something about all youths, so we want to generalize to all youths, Norwegian youths. And of course, the fact that we are working with a sample means that there is uncertainty about the estimates we make based on just a sample, and the confidence interval really is a way of expressing that uncertainty. So let me just show you. We're going to use analyze compare means, one sample t-test, and then put in the dependent variable, and then in test variables, and then paste or choose OK. So, not like that, sorry. We're going to do that, and then we go back to SPSS, and I'm going to do analyze and compare means and one sample t-test, and then again I right click because I want to have display variable names, and I want to find status 4 because that's my dependent variable, and I do nothing now. It's just that what I have to do, and I paste it, and then I go to my syntax, and I have found that, okay, this is my t-test. I just mark it. You can see confidence interval, it says 95. Actually, when you're going to do the 99, you can just change to 99 there, but I'll show you afterwards. I will do the same in SPSS afterwards. But let's look at what you get. So the mean difference, the mean on smoking pot is here it says 423, but it's actually 4.226. So the mean in the mean in the sample is 4.2226. So it really says that the status you get from smoking cannabis is somewhere between reduce your social status a bit and reduce your social status a lot. So it's somewhere between here. Actually, that's our best estimate based on this sample. But given the fact that it's a sample, there are uncertainties It's there is a certain there's uncertainty about whether this is a good the real value in the population. So to express this uncertainty, we put on a confidence interval around this value, where we and with this confidence interval, we are 95% sure that the true value in the population of youths in Norway, that the true value is. So this is our best estimate on their attitude toward the status you get from smoking cannabis. But the true value in the population with 95, and we can be 95% sure that the true value in the population is between 4.21 and 4.25, which is it's not a huge confidence interval around this value. It's really close, actually, but the true value is somewhere between 4.21 and 4.25, and we are 95% sure that the real value, the real mean in the population is somewhere within this confidence interval. Because, as I said, we have only a sample to use, and when we only use a sample, there's uncertainty about estimates we provide, and this is estimated mean. So so with the 95%, we can be 95% sure that the true mean lies somewhere between 4.21 and 4.25. So it's still in the population as such. It probably still is. We can be 95% sure that it's somewhere between reduce your social status a bit and reduce your social status a lot. But if we want to be even surer than 95%, we want to be 99% sure. We go to Analyze, Compare Means, One Sample T-Test, and then we go to Options, and we don't say 95, we know we're going to be 99% sure that the confidence interval has the true population mean, that covers the true population mean. And as you see, it's exactly the same, but it says 99 here down there, so I could just copy this and just correct it to 99. But let's look at it. And then you get this is a 99% confidence interval. The mean is still the same, because the mean is the mean. But then you see that the confidence interval it increases from a bit. So it in the lower end, so it goes from 421 to 420. So it really, now we can be 99% sure that the true mean value in the population of youth is between 4.2 and 4.25. Our best estimate based on this sample is 4.226, but we can be sure that the true value in the population, youth population as such, is somewhere between 4.2 or 4.25. When it comes to the attitude on being what the status it gives you from smoking cannabis. We will never be 100% sure, but we can be very, very close to 100% sure when we use a sample. The thing is that this is, youth data is a huge data set. It's not normal to have it. It's almost close to. There are 10,803 or 4 people. This is a huge sample, so the statistical precision is also huge, which is reflected by the fact that the confidence interval is so tight around the mean. If I had deleted 9,000, so I would be down to 1,000 units. Probably the confidence interval would increase quite a lot, because you reduce statistical precision by excluding by having a lower number of respondents. because then yeah, so then that will also increase, then you will lose statistical precision, and you would get that by getting a larger confidence interval actually. So, but okay, and now you know why the confidence interval is a bit larger for going from 95 to 99. We have to, when we want to be even sure that we cover the true population mean, we have to widen the confidence interval a bit, because because when we want to be even sure, we lose a bit on the precision. So I mean, then we lose a bit precision when we have to increase. Then the confidence interval will increase. But okay, this is our best estimate. But given that it's based on a sample, we also show the confidence interval to show that there's an uncertainty attached to this estimate, because it's only based on a sample. So okay, that was a short introduction to SPSS and the first part of the work requirement. I'll make another video for the second and third part of the work requirement, but this was the first part. Thank you.